Hello, Redlo friends. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute since I've been here, and I'm so happy you're here. It happens to be International Podcast Day, and this is truly one of my favorite places to be, right here behind this microphone, talking to you and sharing my thoughts. So welcome. For those of you that don't know, Redlo is older spelled backwards, and I started this podcast last year to offer hope and help to midlife women who wonder what's next and what do they have to offer the world after raising the kids or going through hard things. Well, the answer to those questions is that you have a lot to offer. And here on this podcast, we talk about stepping forward with our lives and stepping into the next season through the messy and the magnificent aspects of life transitions. And we do it together. I'm so glad you're here. So pull up a chair, go for a walk, or put on those headphones and listen in. I have a great episode for you today. As September comes to a close, I think about how much I love September. How about you? I've been away here for the entire month of September on this podcast, celebrating very special moments with my family, including my son's wedding, and taking care of me. I hope you have too. I flash back to all of those lovely days in September and definitely the end of August this year, and I hold on to the wonderful moments and memories that I will always remember. My son's wedding in Austria, the train ride through the beautiful countryside, meeting new family and friends, having great food and wine and dancing, and celebrating that special time with my kids right there on that fabulous lake in Austria. Truly one of the best lakes I've ever seen. The water was so crystal clear and the mountains behind it, just amazing. A part of me wishes I could turn back time, but I have to keep those memories forever in my mind. Yes, all of those moments that were so tender and sweet, those moments that really helped me be the best version of me. Those moments to celebrate new beginnings. Marissa Wu just wrote an article in Southern Living magazine. She said, September might be one of the most nostalgic times as summer fades and we leave behind the lazy afternoons spent doing absolutely nothing. It's not the new year, but it's a new season. Well, many of us may not have lazy afternoons spent doing absolutely nothing, but we definitely step through one season to another. As August came to a close, we remember all of the wonderful moments of the summer, and we step through September and look forward to fall. So September ends up being a season of transition for all of us. Mornings and evenings begin to cool off, and the days begin to get shorter. And for me, September is definitely nostalgic. It reminds me that summer is coming to an end, and my favorite season, fall, is emerging. But more than anything, I always reflect this time of year, and I think of my kids, because 3 of 4 of my kids celebrate their birthdays this month. My 4th was due September 2nd to be exact, but he arrived early at the end of August. And for those of you that are new here on this podcast, welcome. My name is Terry Mullen, and I am 58 years young. I started this podcast to offer hope to women who are stepping forward and into this season of life and through life transitions. And perhaps you're like me. You wonder what's next after the kids leave. Who are you now, and what do you have to offer the world? Well, if you are in that place, you're not alone. As for me, I reflect, because 31 years ago, on September 25th, I became a mom for the very first time. One of the greatest moments in my life. My 2 precious daughters followed in simultaneous years on September 19th and September 14th. In case you missed it, I had 3 kids in 3 consecutive years, all born in September. They all just celebrated their birthdays, and they are currently 31, 30, and 29. I begged for a 4th child, but I had to wait 7 years until our precious caboose arrived in August. He isn't little anymore. He just celebrated his 22nd birthday and was the best man in his older brother's wedding this past August. And he delivered one of the best man speeches I have ever heard. And I say that not just because he's my son, but because he truly did. So, you may be wondering, why are we talking about all this? Great question. Because September is coming to a close, and I have learned a few things along the way. So I reflect as we step forward and say goodbye to September. Number 1, I gave up a thriving career in September many years ago to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. To this day, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I loved it. I have no regrets. I have amazing memories raising our 4 children, who today are smart, independent, kind adult children. Number 2, I made amazing friends during that season of my life. We all had small children back then and raised them together. We started off by connecting in parenting classes that we took at church, and the friendship grew over the years. We vacationed together, celebrated holidays together, and drank a whole lot of wine together. We've been through a lot over the past 30 years. They are still my very dear friends today. Listen in to one of my favorite episodes that I did recently, episode number 24, called Friends for Life. Number 3, I realize how quickly time passes, especially looking back on this past summer as I celebrated my son's wedding and watched him step forward with his own life. I encourage all of us to enjoy every moment, show up and make the most of every graduation, birthday, wedding, and celebration that you're presented with. Show up too when life is hard and when life sucks, because sometimes it just does. God knows I know that. I've been through a lot in my life, and we don't arrive at this season or this age without having walked through both the wonderful and difficult seasons in life. Number 4, my parents divorced, and I had a lot of childhood trauma as a result. So I decided once I got married and had kids that I would make a very clear decision to work really hard to be the best mom I could be. For me, that meant I was going to be present and show up for the things that really mattered. Always. I am far from perfect, but I promised that I would always be there for my kids, and I would always love them more. Yes, I definitely made mistakes, and my kids would tell you to this day that I fret far too much, even though I've worked really hard on it. I was tough back then and loving at the same time, and I still am. Number 5, when our youngest started high school, I started to question what was next for me and for us. I was certainly still young enough and started feeling restless, like I needed more and something for myself. I realized that I had been giving so much of myself to everyone else that I kind of forgot who I was. Who was I now? I still had dreams and passions inside, and I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver says. So I got curious, and I just started to try new things, a lot of new things actually. I said yes to all of the new opportunities that my friends asked me to participate in, like playing tennis and riding horses, taking dressage lessons, and running half marathons. Then I decided to get my real estate license, and that was just the beginning. I started to rediscover who I was. Things started to come alive inside, and I remembered what set my own soul on fire. And finally, number 6, I decided to write a book at 58. Yes, my first book. Why? Well, I realized that I've always wanted to write a book. I took a course from Nick and Megan Unsworth called Life on Fire, and I learned all about self-publishing with Amazon's KDP. If you aren't familiar with that, maybe I should do an episode on that, but it's really fascinating. Self-publishing seems to be the way to go these days, and Amazon makes it so easy. Unless you're already really famous, you're going to get rejected by a lot of the publishers. So there's that. So was writing a book hard? Absolutely. But it was worth every step. I've learned so much about myself, and I made a lot of friends along the way. And I've learned that just because you're passionate about something or even good at it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. You may enjoy it, but you've got to get to the goal line and do the hard work. In fact, what I found, writing my book has been one of the hardest achievements I've done to date, because it's personal and gritty and vulnerable, and it's all about helping midlife women step forward in this season of life and how to do it. Now, you don't have to go conquer the world to step forward in this season of life. I guess you can if you want to, but my book really is just about figuring out what's next for you. And what is that that's most important? What is that thing you've been wanting to do? Maybe it is writing a book or a blog, or maybe it's just slowing down. But whatever it is, I'm here to encourage you to step forward with your life. And yes, Step Forward is the title of my book, and it will be available on my 59th birthday on November 6th. Happy birthday to me, and I hope it blesses you. I share very vulnerable parts of my life, both the good and the difficult things that I've been through. And I give some really great tools and tips on how you can rediscover your amazing self. Remember, there's only one you. So about writing. Well, Stephen King says writing isn't just about making money or trying to get famous. That's not my goal, by the way. But he does say, in the end, it's about enriching the lives of those who will read your work and enriching your own life as well. It's about getting up, getting well, and getting over. Now that resonates. And my favorite author, Brené Brown, wrote on her Facebook page a while back, "Every time I write a book, I'm challenged to live the message. I had to face my own perfectionism when I wrote The Gifts. I had to come face to face with criticism and courage when I wrote Daring Greatly. And I had to challenge all of the stories I make up to protect myself when I wrote Rising Strong. Writing this book on true belonging felt like months of living in the wilderness to me." That is what she said when she wrote Braving the Wilderness. In Atlas of the Heart, she said, "I want this book to be an atlas for all of us because I believe with an adventurous heart and the right maps, we can travel anywhere and never fear losing ourselves, even when we don't know where we are." Well, that sums up why I love her so much. And for all of you that have not read any of Brené Brown's books, I highly recommend them. For me personally, her book Rising Strong is one of the best books I have read to date for my own personal growth. I read that book at a time when we were going through a very difficult season and I was trying to rediscover who I was. And that book helped me rise up strong. So back to September. It is certainly a very special month. It is not a new year, but definitely a new season, and a new season of life for me, and perhaps for you. As with this month, we say farewell to summer, and we await the cheerful introduction to fall festivities and the autumn aromas. Can you just smell them now? September is a month of transition in true seasons of life and our own personal season of life. We say farewell to a part of us that once was, and we look forward to what lies ahead. As the leaves change and begin to turn, so do we. So let's embrace who we are now in this season of life. Let's give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves and pursue those things that really matter. Let's celebrate this season of life and who we are. It's time to soar. And by that, I mean it's time to start right where you are. It's time to overcome those silly, limiting beliefs that hold you back, those things like fear, doubt, worry, feeling unworthy and unqualified, and any other words that pop in your mind that hold you back and keep you playing small. Then take action. Take that courageous action and do the things that scare you. You just might be surprised what happens. You might discover how amazing and strong you really are. And trust me, I know this one. And then rise up and radiate all the gifts that God has given you. Go out into the world and share your light with others, because I promise you, there is someone out there who needs exactly what you have to offer. And all the experience that you have from everything you've been through in your life is a gift to someone else. So step into who you are, put on your best shoes, and maybe some of those shoes that even sparkle and shine, and go be a light into the world. And so here we are. We say goodbye to September, feeling nostalgic and moving through these different seasons from one to another, from the hot days that are trailing behind us and turning towards the new one where leaves are changing, that signal of true change and transformation. Fall, as I said, my favorite season. And listen to the short podcast episode that I have. I think it's episode number 8 on Seasons of Life and the Magnificent Tree. In closing, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis said, "Nostalgia, that's the autumn. Dreaming through September. Just a million lovely things. I will always remember. May you step forward and through this transition in life and see all of the gifts that are inside of you. May you put your favorite shoes on and step forward into this next season of life. Let's celebrate it together. Until we meet again, may God truly bless you. May you know that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, and you belong. Now let's step forward.